Oh, okay. Oh, huh. Oh, ew. Okay. Yeah. I'm just gonna put this. I'll just. Yeah, yeah. I don't know what to do with this. Hi. You know why I'm here? You obviously know why. Okay. Okay. Of course you do. I'm gonna give you some sticky pages. Hey, everything's okay though. I just took a shower. I'm clean. I am not dirty. Yep. All right. Hi, my name's Gabe, and I guess this is my first SPR, otherwise known as Sticky Page Reviews. Wonderful name, I know, but I'm going with it. I think it's fun, funny, I guess. I don't know, so I'm gonna go with it. Uh, and today, for my first ever Sticky Page review, is Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. A perfect book for this. Or not. Eh, no, I guess. Eh, but I mean, yeah, Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. How do I describe this book? A lot of things. It is a very smutty and very pessimistic book. It's a type of pessimism slash smuttiness that just leaves this kind of just like stain on you after you finish reading it. I Yeah, it's just a lot to describe, so I guess I'm just gonna have to talk about it. So how I'm just gonna generally frame these videos out is that I'm gonna just put them into segments. The first is gonna be the story segment. I'm just gonna give a quick run through. I guess quick-ish. I don't know how long this is gonna take. And these will be spoiler reviews. So if you haven't read the book, or if you have a desire to read it, skip it. Then I'm gonna go into characters and just talk about them, what I think about them, if they have any intrigue at all, or whatever. Then what else? Oh yeah, themes and writing. I'm gonna talk. That's what I'm gonna talk about last before my final thoughts, and then my overall rating. So, Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. If you know anything about Jeanette McCurdy, she hasn't had a very wonderful life. Let's say that. But I'm not gonna go into much about that since I'm just gonna mainly talk about her book. But if you know anything about her, or at least some details, her mom was a piece of shit to her. Dan Schneider was a piece of shit to her. Just the silver lining about this is that she is doing well nowadays, and I am more than happy for her about that. And obviously she's thriving. So the story starts off with Waldo, who is a 17-year-old girl who is just starting out her senior year in high school. All right, and her living situation's not the best at all. In fact, it's kind of, I wouldn't say dire, but it's just not great at all. Like, first off, her mom is sort of neglectful and just not present for her at all, and barely has been throughout her entire life. Because her mom, I'll talk about her more later, but basically, she has like an addiction to sex and relationships, and just constantly tries to go off with another person who obviously isn't good for her and good for anyone else in this situation. That's the main thing going on with Waldo. And the book takes place in her perspective, and it kind of just goes through a chronological list of events in her life throughout her senior year. And it just starts off kind of boring for her. The book literally starts with her having sex with a boyfriend she's not very satisfied with, and in that same chapter, they just break up, and then school starts for her. And of course, like I explained with her mom, they're just very distant. Their relationship is very thin. They're never on the same page. And her mom is just always like, "Oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Have a great day." She's just trying to be nice, but Waldo, she's not having it. And so school starts for her. Uh, I'm gonna put, I'll just put it right there. And Waldo, school for her starts pretty normally, but when it gets to her, if you just going from the title alone, you can probably tell that eventually she starts having a sexual relationship with her teacher, and specifically her English teacher, Mr. Corgi. Yes. And in that first day of class with him, she just has like this instant infatuation with him. Like practically, like she describes his features and then instantly like falls for him. Yeah. So, you got yeah, gotta love it. Yeah. If by the way, if you're uncomfortable with this type of stuff, I would not mind at all if you just skip this video entirely. I would completely understand. But yeah, so she just becomes obsessed with him pretty much. Yeah, so she just pretty much starts having this obsession of him to the point where she kind of starts molding herself into what she thinks she would like, he would like best from her. Like first off, she starts like writing a lot, like almost instantly. She just starts writing and writing and writing. Of course, since he's an English teacher, she thought he would be impressed by that, and he is. Of course, just barely knowing her, he's like, "Oh, great job! Your assignments are good, and I think you have great potential." And then oh god, I don't fully remember the details, but there's a scene almost shortly after where Waldo is having a conversation with her friend Franny. I'll just talk about her later. Uh, and like she gets like Waldo just gets pissed. Like it's kind of forced. Like out of all the uncomfortable scenes in the book, I feel surprisingly this particular scene is like the most just like it should have just been cut out. I guess I don't know. Maybe Jeanette could have framed it like Waldo was just acting angry, but like Waldo's just angry sporadically, and she just goes right to Corgan, and she's like, "Why do you pity me? You're just being nice to me because you think I'm just pathetic and stuff." Yeah, and of course, he's just being reasonable. And he's like, "No, that's not it at all." And that kind of leads to later, where she works at Victoria's Secret in this next scene with them together. He just happens to be walking the mall, and they happen to see each other, and Corgi, being the responsible adult that he is, uh, oh, sorry if my mic was not catching me at all. I did not notice that, but oh yes. So Waldo and Corky, they just happen to see each other at the mall, specifically, the Victoria's Secret that they were at, that she works at, and they have a conversation. And again, being the responsible adult that he is, he just invites her to dinner at his house with his wife. He's married with a kid. He's a father, and she's like, "Oh, sure, sure." And then of course, they have dinner, and then, but this is like a point where she kind of descends a little bit because she's kind of just dissecting his life, dissecting, uh, and his marriage. Was it Helen? Gwen. It was Gwen. Uh, his marriage with Gwen is, at least she thinks. Oh, I guess it is. That I guess it is like on his end. He's not very satisfied. He's getting very exhausted of the relationship. Meanwhile, Gwen, she's like very happy. She's like in a good state in her life, and she's just very comfortable. She's thriving. Then Waldo, yeah, but she's just Waldo. She's just instantly trying, just going for it. She's just going, not in that dinner scene, but in her mind, she's like, "Oh, I'm better for you. Not that Gwen bitch. No, not her. You want me. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure you want me." Stuff like that. So what happens after the dinner? So I think yeah, Waldo invites him for a walk sometime later. Yeah, just a great later relationship that's unfolding here. Um, and they're just walking throughout Alaska. I forgot the town, but I know that they live in, but I know they're in Alaska. Uh, and they're just walking, and of course, her being just kind of impulsive, not kind of, she is impulsive, uh, or I guess she can be impulsive. She kisses him after their walk, like during their walk out in public. And you know, one point for Corky for at least initially being like, no, that you should not be doing that. But then he loses that point because on the drive back to when he drops her off on the drive back, he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna report this because it would ruin my life. But dude, you kind of have to. Like, you didn't instigate it, so there's that. But like, you have to report something like that as a responsible teacher, or at least supposed to be a responsible teacher. You have to do that. And then that kind of sends, with how obsessed Waldo is, that kind of just sends her into a spiral for a little bit, where she completely misses him. Again, obsessively so. And it leads to a point where Corgi is gone for like a 2-week period, and then this dives into homecoming dance, or she's there, and she pretends to go to the bathroom. All right, and she actually sneaks off to his classroom. She goes into his classroom. All right, and then she goes to his desk, and then she goes to his seat. And you know what she does with this seat? She sniffs it. This is pretty bad, folks. And then just perfect timing, perfect timing. Mr. Corgi happens to walk in while she's just in his classroom doing that. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here." And Waldo's like, "Oh, well, why were you avoiding me? Why were you gone this like for like 2 weeks or so?" He's like, "I had personal stuff. I had personal stuff." And then, well, not a sex scene comes up, but more like dry humping, I guess. I again, if you're uncomfortable with this stuff, I I I more than understand if you just want to skip. But Waldo comes on to him, and she just kind of just like does stuff to him. Not like major stuff yet, but they've officially crossed the line like fully. So that happens, and then at first Corgi is still adamant about it. Like, he's still rejecting what happened. He's like, no, I don't want this. This should never happen. And he later talks to her like, hey, this can never come out. But then a little bit later, he just texts Corgi and he's like, can I come over in an hour? Comes over drunk, and they finally have sex. And as I described it, with this being a smutty book, it goes into detail. Like, oh, like there's quite a few sex scenes in the book, and all of them go into great detail. It's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable, and so is this one. And yeah, that happens, and then so I guess they're officially dating. I guess they're dating. And what transpires throughout probably this is like almost at this point, this is like almost halfway through the book. So the second half is just Waldo and Corgi, just trying to just maintaining their secret that they're dating. But of course, with him being a teacher and her being his student, they're kind of just going through a bunch of like tribulations of him, kind of Corgi just trying to balance his social family / work life with his secret life. And of course, going from Waldo's perspective, she's eventually starting to feel kind of left out and just hung dry, because whenever like they're trying to get intimate, his wife calls and he has to take it. Like, obviously, like although she's just being selfish, but it's not her fault. Like, everyone in this book is fucked up in their own way. It's just it's a sad situation throughout. And that kind of just goes to a point where she's like, are you going to take priority over your wife or me? And obviously his wife, he's married to her. He had a kid with her. And, he's 40 and you're 17 going on 18. Yeah. And that kind of, oh, sorry. And that kind of just led to Corgi just being, you know what? Not anymore. I can't eventually, I guess their relationship just became too strained, and it led to Corgi being like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I have a wife, I have a family, I, I, I'm a I'm a fully developed adult. Like I can't just be doing this. I have to. I have a life to live. I have to abandon this to do that. And that kind of just sends Waldo into another spiral where she's just completely, where she's angry, again, obsessed, and she's just going through a whole confusing bundle of emotions until eventually, oh, what happened? Oh God, where during this like space where her and Corgi are apart, she meets another guy named Nolan, and he's a genuinely nice person. I'll talk about him a bit more, but he's just a down to earth guy. And she and him start dating, and but still, even when she's dating another person, she's completely focused on Corgi still. Like when it's prom, oh, I'm just checking my mic. Um, when it's eventually prom, and despite going with another guy, she's completely focused on Corky. Like she's dressing up for him, in what she would think he would be his favorite like dress or stuff. She's prepping herself for Corky, 100%. And then on that night, she eventually goes off from Nolan and then has sex again with Corky, where they reconcile. Where Corky's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I want to get back together. I should not have done this to you." Yeah, it's bad. And then they, you know, kickstart their relationship again, and Waldo, being fearful of like pushing him away again when his wife calls, does the routine call. She's like, "Oh yeah, you should take that." Trying to keep things mended. So, but still, with him still being tied by his family life, there's even Waldo is still getting a little frustrated, although for different, I guess, for same-ish reasons. But it's more so like she's just getting exhausted. Like, okay, why are we still doing this? And then another sex scene occurs. This one is just repulsive because she's having her period, and he proceeds to like, no, she asks him to, like, they're having sex on her period, and imagine, I mean, she's like, "I want you to do this to me." Yeah, if you can tell, she's having her period while they're having sex, and she's like, "Oh, I want you to slap me." Not with his hand though. Yeah, that happens. It's gross. And then his wife, walks in, and she's just Waldo like retreats to the closet, and she's just staying there watching it happen. And Gwen is like, "Oh, let's do something. Let's have a little fun." But Corky's like, "No, I'm tired." And then that moment where Waldo and Corgi are just having the most repulsive sex ever, and some of the most repulsive sex ever. And when his wife walks in, I guess it just clicks in her. She's like, "Oh, I don't want to do this anymore," and that sends him into a spiral. Like there's a whole chapter dedicated to like texts from him saying, "It's like, oh, I want to get back. I want us to, talk things out, And then if he sends like this whole like paragraph shit where where he's like, "You know what? You're right. This isn't working because I'm not focusing as much on you as I should." He's like, and he comes to the conclusion that he needs to divorce Gwen. He's like, "I'm going to do this. I'm going to divorce her, and I want us to meet at this place at this date, and by then, I will be separated from my wife. Not like officially, but he would have made the announcement to her." And she's like, "Fine, I'll do it." And then it does happen. Like he books a hotel. She is there at the hotel. She gets all ready and shit. Gets ready, for sex, more sex. But he walks in completely drunk and just emotionally just destroyed because obviously because he officially pretty much ended like probably at least a decade long marriage to Gwen. Um, which was healthy, at least for the most part, it was healthy. He just gave that up for a teenage girl, which is now 18. Doesn't make anything better, but at least she's 18, I guess. I don't know. And from the pretty much like the final act of this book is just them, officially being together without having any constraints or, limitations. But as they live their life, peacefully in their own peace, I don't know. Waldo even then starts realizing, hey, most of the thrill I got from this relationship was that it was a secret. It was that we got a lot of thrill. Like our interactions were short, and we just had to make the most of them, and then it was cut and dry. But now, with them being actually able to spend more time together, have just moments where they're sitting and doing nothing together, she gets bored. She just gets bored. Like, hey, I know you destroyed your family life for me, but I'm bored of this. And eventually leads to a point where there was like a thing in the book where Corgi is like, I have dreams of us together where we're just, just having a wonderful relationship, and we're at Hawaii, and we're just, spending great time together. And so the end of the book is like, oh yeah, where Corgi, he books a trip to Hawaii. He's like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a great time together. At this point, he's like, we're gonna fix this. What's going on with us right now? Our trip to Hawaii, that's gonna help fix what's ever happening, because obviously at this point she's getting bored, and they're just becoming restless with each other. They're just not happy together anymore. And and that happens. Oh, and one more thing, as I mentioned way before, saying her mom has like an addiction to sex and relationships and shit. About around the time, I guess, where Waldo is like officially dating Corgi without restraint, her mom actually, joins like an AA like a an AA meeting for sex addicts. And so her mom's like, "Oh, I'm finally doing better. I'm going to do this, and you know what? We're actually going to do stuff together again." And it actually seemed different because how Waldo describes it, she's like, "Oh, there isn't like that dreamy essence to my mom anymore. There's like an actual determination now." So there's that, but and that's just for the ending of the book. So going back again to the Hawaiian trip, um, like Waldo and Corgi, they're at the airport, they're ready to go, they're loading, but she's like, "Oh, I need to go to the bathroom," and she sits in the bathroom thinking, "Hmm, yeah, no, I don't want to do this," and she just abandons Corgi at the airport to go to her mom, who is, to her knowledge, still, getting better, rehabilitating herself. But so Waldo's like, "Oh yeah, I'm feeling peppy. I'm feeling happy. But you know what? I want to go on a trip with my mom." Because again, that's another detail in the book where her mom's like, "Let's go to SeaWorld," because apparently when Waldo was like 4, they went on this like camping trip in SeaWorld, and apparently it was like one of the greatest experiences of their lives. So ever since then, Waldo's mom is like, "Oh, let's go back. Let's go to SeaWorld. Let's go have a trip, a fun trip." But of course, with her mom being distant and just focusing on a completely different thing, that never happened. So Waldo's like coming back to the airport. She's like, let's go to SeaWorld. Let's just do that. I have a suitcase pack. Let's just do it." She walks in her apartment and walks in on her mom having sex again with a boyfriend that doesn't care about either of them. And that just leaves Waldo. That just has her leave. She just leaves. She just goes. No goodbye, no shit. She just sees her mom having sex again. Um, and she just leaves, drives her on her own to SeaWorld, and she's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna focus on me for a while," and that's how it ends, really. That's how it ends. So what's next? Oh yeah, the characters. So what do I think of the characters? Um, I think they were well written for the most part. I guess, but I do, from what I'm about to talk about, I do understand why some people that would read this book think that they're flat, and that's really down to the writing style and how the characters are presented. I'll talk about that a bit more later. But I think, um, again, I think they're just well done. But I do have a couple of things, not problems per se, but a little nitpicks, I guess, about them. And I guess I'll save Waldo for last, but I'll start off with her mom. So about Waldo's mom, as mentioned before, she has an addiction, and I wouldn't say sex per se, although it is kind of like a main point, but it's more so that she's kind of addicted to wanting a relationship. Because Waldo, because she had Waldo when she was a teenager, and obviously with situations like that, that could be a very damning situation. And from what is presented in the book here, it very much is. Because and from what I could get, Waldo's mom, she's just constantly chasing relationships and just constantly, looking for guys that aren't into her that much, at least as a person. And she's just going from guy to guy, just completely, just repeating herself in this like very, very vicious cycle on her, mental state. And as Waldo describes in the book, like when the mom, breaks up with a boyfriend, like she just goes into like this deep depressive spiral, and Waldo's just there to pick up the pieces. Like Waldo's there for her mom, then her mom should be for her. But this is a constant repeat thing. Uh, so basically, when her mom is just well, she doesn't focus on Waldo enough, and when her mom isn't well, she isn't focusing on anything at all. And I just found that kind of just and to me that's like very, very intriguing, because I guess if you think about it a lot, I mean, I don't know, I did, like when I was reading this book, I was like really into this book, like I was just like dissecting the characters and all that type of shit. So that just got me thinking, like her mom is just kind of just she's constantly like looking for relationships and just putting herself through that repetition, just because probably like a lot of teenagers think, I guess, that when they're in a relationship, they think, oh yeah, this is the one, this is gonna last forever, and often it doesn't. And this one, it blew up in her face. So I think she just never like emotionally matured out of being, a love struck teenager that got pregnant. And so she's just constantly uh, looking for something that isn't real. Like, not that a teenage relationship isn't real, it's just that it's also kind of very, very exaggerated. So, and again, she's just looking for that feeling, that lasting feeling that she probably had when she was a teenager. And, she's just can't seem to find it. Yeah. So that's what I think about her mom. I think she's a fantastically well written character. I just wish she was focused on more, I guess. But yeah, stuff like that. Then Franny, I barely mentioned Franny, but I guess for good reasons, because she is kind of like a flat character. I didn't get very much engaged with her, but that might be the intention, because again, this book is in Waldo's perspective, and Waldo, calls Franny a friend. She tolerates her, she hangs out with her, but she doesn't like her at all. She doesn't. So I'm guessing. I mean, obviously, when someone doesn't like another person, they tend to focus on the features that make them not like that person, and that is kind of what happens in this book. Like Waldo's constantly criticizing Franny, is constantly just silently mocking her in her head. Meanwhile, Franny is kind of just living her life. And she is, I would say there are attributes of her that are selfish, but I don't think Franny is like a totally bad person. It's just that she's just a bit standoffish. I don't know. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess there's Nolan. He is. I really like Nolan. He's just out of all the cast of characters, like each one of them is just kind of just weird or fucked up in their own way. This is probably the only guy in the story where he is just down to earth. He's just laid back. He's just a guy. He's just here living. He has a good life and he's just living. And he probably has like probably one of my favorite moments of the book. This happens in the prom sequence where she dresses up for Corgi and has sex with him again. And when Nolan is dropping her off, he's like, so let's break up. And this surprises Waldo, and she's like, why? And he's like, well, I really like you, but I can tell that you're just not that into me. You don't care about me, and I don't want to be in a relationship like that, where I know that you just don't want to be with me. He's just upfront and honest with her, and she's like, "Oh, well, I get that. That makes sense." And then that's kind of just like the last time we see him. And like, hey, emotional maturity from this guy. Like that gave me some levity in this book that I think was needed. But yeah, so Waldo is just not Waldo. Sorry, Nolan is just a good guy. He's just a good guy, and he got himself out of very, very emotionally stagnant and possibly um not abusive, but just neglect. Nah, not even neglectful. Neglectful. A waste of a time of a relationship. He just moves on, which is good. Then, oh yeah, Mr. Corgi. Mr. Corgi. Ooh, um, I think he's also flat, but also again, this might be by design. Because Jeanette McCurdy stated in interviews that her writing style is this in this book. It's just very, very direct, honest, and raw. So that might be a symptom of that. But like I said about how when someone hates another person, they tend to focus more on the stuff that makes them hate that person rather than the person itself. And I think this is the type of thing that's going on with Corgi as well, although on the opposite end of the spectrum. Because as soon as I described, as soon as Waldo sees Corgi, she just obsesses over him. He becomes her idol pretty much. And she never really focuses on him as a person. Like we get details about his personal life and who he is as a regular, guy. Um, but she just like states that he told her this about himself. He told her that. But she never like dwells on that. She never like connects with him. She just states it and moves on. Like she focuses whenever she talks about. There are a couple instances where she talks about, loving all of his parts, all the disgusting parts, even the good parts and the disgusting parts. But it's never like in reference to his personality. It's always about his body, his gross 40-year-old body. Yeah. So he so that's just how he comes across as just a one note idol for her to obsess over. And obviously once they actually have a free relationship together, she just isn't interested in him. Obviously she gets bored. Like she finally has a chance to get to know him and shit, and she's just not interested. That's just like, I guess, the period on that statement. He is It's kind of interesting. He does still have a bit of intrigue because he isn't portrayed as a straight up predator. He is still a predator, but it's not like the normal sense where he came onto her, she came on to in fact she came on to him. But so he's just if she didn't exist, he would just be a guy. But he's still a despicable weirdo because instead of just reporting the kiss and what the fuck ever happens later, he indulges in it. So he's still a piece of shit, but he's still not like an outright horrible person, I guess. Although he's still pretty despicable for indulging in this relationship. But yeah, that's what I think about Corgi as a as a whole. But Gwen and her son, I guess Gwen and her and Corgi's son, they don't have much screen time as well. I mean, I do sympathize with them because they're innocent bystanders in a very disgusting situation. So I feel bad for them on that front. But Gwen doesn't have much going for her other than that she is kind of just like being tossed in this horrible situation, and the son is barely existent in the book in this story, which obviously he's a toddler. What else can he do? um but yeah, that's what I think about them. And then finally, Waldo. Waldo, very, very a teenager that needs tons and tons of therapy, obviously. And that's just kind of what I sum up about her. Like, kind of, again, in the similar vein as Franny and um, Corgi, she doesn't. The book is her perspective. We hear her thoughts and shit, but she doesn't really go into herself as a person as well. And that kind of, again, that might be by design. I don't know. This is just my interpretation. But she deliberately doesn't go into herself as a person because she doesn't want to focus on herself as an actual person. because there's several scenes in this book where she's constantly focusing on what other people think about her, what Corky thinks about her, and shit like that. And just like she and other stuff, she just focuses on the people around her and her life situations, than how she herself reacts to him, I guess. If you get what I mean. In fact, there's like a scene in the book. I need to find it. Here it is. Okay, there's a chapter about midway through. This is when um Corgi, where she and Corgi are in the first leg of their relationship, where she's getting starting to get frustrated about him having to to like maintain his family life. Like she's like they have a date planned and shit, and then she's just getting like frantic, like because she's like getting ready, like she's just getting uptight about this, like she has to look perfect, absolutely perfect. And then at the last minute, he sends her a text that says this: "Hey, pretty lady, I'm so sorry, but I can't make it. I was so looking forward to seeing you, but Gwen and I got in a tiff and I'm stuck doing damage control. I'm doubly sorry for the last minute nature of this. Just notice the time. It's been hectic, to say the least. I'll make up to you soon, I promise." And then the last sentence of this chapter says, "I collapse over myself, hyperventilating, tears that's not oozing out of me as I type my response, no prob." So that's just that little snippet kind of just like sums up her Waldo's entire predicament in this book, is that she, like her mom, is kind of just obsessed over something that shouldn't be real. Uh, and again, like with the prom, she makes herself look her best for Corgi instead of just herself. So as a result, that kind of just makes her, in her own way, a flat character. Not that I can't sympathize with her. I do. Like, how could I not? She has a bum life, a distant mother, and she's indulging in a very dangerous relationship with with the with an authority figure that you know how that goes. It's just weird. Yeah, so I think like that's the point. I guess the point of the book, of the ending of the book, where I guess it ends with her finally like just kind of just like erasing herself from all that stuff and just focusing on herself. So I guess in that essence, she is a good character, but I kind of wish that. Oh wait. Oh, and on top of that, she even has like I forgot to mention this in the story section. She has like a major shopping addiction. That's another thing about her, is that whenever her emotions get riled up and shit, like she goes to a bunch of shopping sites and just splurges. And that's another like well written sequence, like a motif in the book, where she is constantly like her mom. Sorry for all, sorry for all the squeaking. Like her mom, she's constantly looking for that satisfaction, but instead of wanting a good relationship, or yeah, it's wanting. Waldo is just constantly like seeking satisfaction from like, oh, I'm getting all these dresses and stuff, and then all this makeup. It's gonna feel great once I get it, and then she gets it, and then it's not, and she's just feeling empty still. So like when you look for that, for all the little details, they are there that eventually do build to a very three-dimensional character. It's just that I just wish there was a bit more, especially towards the ending. Um, it is like it does signify that how the book ends. It does signify that she's finally letting go of everything around her. She's erasing herself from all of it. She's just restarting and trying to think about herself more. But even then, the way it's presented, it's not great. I'll talk about that more later. That's how I think of the characters. For the most part, they're good. They're very good. They're very engaging. But at the same time, I wish there was more from a few of them, like Franny, her mother, herself, and Corgi. I just wish there was more. And now going to the themes and writing style of this book. If you can't, if you haven't picked up on it already, it's pretty obvious though. The central themes are, about abuse, power dynamics, and just, love being confused with being obsessed slash being lustful. Also, there's even a tad bit of consumerism and how it can often be used to just numb your pain, like, like with Waldo's shopping addiction, like she constantly just goes to products and stuff, and just so she can regulate her feelings / avoid them. Um, but these are like great themes. Like these are themes that should always be talked about with nuance. Um, but the problem I have with how they're presented in the book, and this kind of just drags it down for me, is that there isn't that nuance. There isn't that. It is taken seriously, but there isn't that like driving force that makes me fully engage with these ideas. Because as I mentioned before, Jeanette McCurdy, she wrote the book to be very, very direct, raw, and just lacking like much wordsmithery. Because like here it is. I guess I can read a passage. I'll read the last chapter. The very ending of the book. This is how the writing style goes. My hands out the window like a singer in a 90s music video. I yank my hair tie out and let my curls blow in the wind. I'm halfway to seaward, a dozen calls deep from Corgi and 6 from Mom when I finally shut off my phone. Maybe it's all the same. Corgi and pants and YouTube and makeup and sweaters and junk food and sex. Maybe they're all just distractions from me. But right now, me feels okay. No chaos, no turmoil, no endless list of wants. Right now, I don't want for anything. The book is kind of like that, where it just tells you instead of just shows it to you and lets you express it for yourself. That depending on the type of story, that isn't like inherently a bad thing. Like in fact, it could be a very beneficial thing. And for this story, I feel like it could have benefited more from getting a bit more substance and range through in the story and characters. I It would have been really interesting to get other people's perspective on this, / getting like depending on your interpretation of the book, things could either be flat as hell or things could be extremely deep. For me, like from what I'm talking about the characters and what I'm talking about now, I got a much deeper essence of the book. But there is a problem there where like the constant upfront of sex scenes and abuse and shit and other shit like that, I just feel kind of exhausted. Where it's like, okay, I get what you're trying to do, but I'm kind of done. Not I am kind of done. Where it's like, okay, you can be a bit more than just what you're talking about. And this is kind of like the pitfall the book falls in, where it's like, where it's nothing but the themes. And in some aspects of it, it kind of reminds me of like other stories like Train Spotting, where there is a lot of dark subject matter, subject matter, but it's balanced with a lot of with levity and comedy. Like in many essences, that movie is sort of a comedy, more of like comedy drama, but there is that factor that helps you tie yourself to the story more. It is able to give you a hug while also punch you in the gut. This just punches you in the gut until you start bleeding. So when I was just done with the book, I just felt like there was just this stain in me where it's like, wow, I feel gross. I don't like humanity right now. I feel disgusting. But and again with that, it's just I didn't feel much other than just what the book was giving me. If and that kind of just all culminates in the ending I just read. Like if you want to read this book and you think, oh yeah, there's going to be a point where Corgi and Waldo are exposed, and there's going to be like a revelation of Waldo, like, oh yeah, this relationship's going to be was actually horrible. Like Waldo, I was abused, like I was taken advantage of. No, that never happens. There are like a couple of like moments where Franny and Corgi are like, yeah, this isn't right, but it's never like Waldo herself never comes to that epiphany where she's like, wow, this is disgusting. I was taken advantage of. Uh, again, she came onto him first, but again, he took advantage of her, and she never comes. Sorry, she never goes to that Sorry. Again, she never comes to that realization, and that like that kind of just like puts the book down for me. That kind of just pulls everything down where it's like, okay, what does it amount to? Again, like as I described, it like this whole story is just her finally deciding to take that first step for herself to get better. But the way it's like presented, it's not enough. Like I love a story like that where it isn't like a full on self redemption story. It's like the kind of like the prologue to that. But there needs to be that awareness, I believe, because like I remember, not remember, I just fucking read it. That line right here that says, "But right now, me feels okay." I feel like a lot of stuff would have been fixed if Jeanette like cut that line out. If there wasn't, if Waldo was like, "Yeah, I'm not okay right now," maybe there would have been a bit of saving grace. Like maybe, like yeah, Waldo knows that she is not not in a good spot in her life right now, or maybe like when Waldo is starting to get bored and when Corky and her are starting to fight a lot more. Maybe there should have been like or like at the scene where he comes in the hotel drunk as hell after saying to his wife, "Oh, I want a divorce." Maybe he should have been sober and just straight up would have been straight up honest with her, like, "Hey, I don't. This is like revolting. Like you should like have some more self respect. Like this is disgusting." And maybe or something along those lines, and then maybe like the rest of the book could have been the same with her getting bored and then them starting to fight more, but with her getting more bored, like she thinks more like, "Oh yeah, this isn't right," and then the ending could have happened as is, but we don't have that. So there isn't like much of a point. Like I go through a bunch of a bunch of trauma, generational trauma, a bunch of abuse, a bunch of like a bunch of smutty and disgusting sex, with the whole oh, I need you to slap me, and then that I read that and it doesn't lead to much of anywhere, and that kind of again that just brings it down. And not yeah. Yeah, that's just how I think. Yeah. So overall, what rating am I going to give this book? How many sticky pages? And I'm going to
Into this thing.
so so going back to the story, I like it. I actually I mean, despite what I'm saying, I really love that instead of just having a regular story in this vein where it's like, oh yeah, she's getting better. This is like the first step to that. But again, the presentation, if it was just altered a bit, it would have really been so much better. It would have flourished a lot more. Like if Jeanette, sorry, excuse me, made the direct writing specific to like the scenes where Waldo's with Corky and had more, well-rounded writing when Waldo's with everyone else, I feel like it would have worked a lot more because it would have like been a reflection of how when Waldo's away from Corgi, she's in reality, but when she's with him, she's just living out her fantasy. I feel like that would have even driven the point home a lot more. There's that, and then of course the whole thing that the book itself doesn't even make it aware. It's like, oh yeah, this whole thing with Waldo at least, where it's like, oh yeah, I was taking advantage of. That doesn't that doesn't happen. So I have to take away from that. And the characters, as a result, obviously, I feel like I guess depending on your interpretation, they can be either three-dimensional or flat as hell. To me, I feel like I sort of got a mix of that. Um, that's why I always feel like, oh, this could be by intention because it's like, okay, I don't fully know. I don't know the writing process. But yeah, the characters for the most part I thought were very intriguing, not fun, but like engaging to a point. So with all that said, I think I'm going to give Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy 6 sticky pages out of 10. Again, I feel like this is a good book. I liked it, but with what I described, there's a lot that kind of drags it down. Now, what now this is her debut novel, so I'm not going to be like, oh, Jeanette McCurdy's an awful author. No, I'm not. In fact, I am very interested to read more of her books if she doesn't decide to write more, because like she is a good author. Like she was still able to construct a very um, I guess engaging, story. It just had some pitfalls. So if she writes another one, I'm more than happy to pick it up. Like I guess on her second book, I'll maybe be a bit more judgmental. Would be like if the stuff if the flaws of this book are repeated again and possibly made worse in her second book, then yes, I'll be more critical about her as an author. But as of now, I think she has a lot of potential. She has a lot of potential. Like this isn't fully bad, and I know she wrote an autobiography before this called "I'm Glad My Mom Died." If you want to know anything about her life, having an autobiography titled "I'm Glad My Mom Died," I guess says it all. Um, but I don't think I'm going to read that. I'm not much of a memoir person. I'm not much of a nonfiction reader. My shtick is fiction. I like fiction overall, so that's what I'm going to be getting. But maybe someday, if I get interested enough, I'll pick up "I'm Glad My Mom Died" and read that. But yeah, so far this is the only book I've reviewed of her, and possibly will for a long time. Because right now she's working on a TV adaptation of "I'm Glad My Mom Died." Sorry for my stuttering. Yeah, it says right here, McCurdy is creating, writing, executive producing, and showrunning an Apple TV Plus series loosely inspired by "I'm Glad My Mom Died." Yeah, and I did some research. She might also be doing a movie of half his age. I don't know if that's true, but still. And yeah, overall, I liked it. Again, some pitfalls that just drag this down, but 6 out of 10 sticky pages, I think that's a great start, at least to this review series. Let's stick this on the shelf right next to Gone with the Wind. So if you like this review, I hope you come back and watch again. Do all that usual stuff, like and subscribe, whatever. If you don't, I whatever. I'm just doing this for fun. Like I love reading, I love watching movies, I love all that shit. And I just want to finally start, talking about them. Okay. So I hope this is a fun start to a fun series. Okay. Have a good day.